Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. This week's video, we're going to be doing another character deep dive. I feel like I haven't done one in such a long time, and as more casting information comes out for the Life is Strange TV show, I feel like a lot of people are going to want to know more about these characters. Today we're going to be discussing a character who is really loved by the fans. Today we'll be talking about Kate Marsh. I figured now is the perfect time to do a deep dive on her because of the casting news that we keep getting from the show. On the day that I uploaded my last announcement, they happened to reveal a couple more actors literally that same exact day, so, I guess they know my upload schedule. Kate is a very interesting and complicated character. She plays a major role in the story of the first game, trying to uncover what happened to her. She's also a character that's really intertwined with some other character deep dives that I've done, like Nathan Prescott, Victoria Chase, and she's also at the center of my theory about Mr. Jefferson somehow having an accomplice. So if you want to check those videos out, those are linked down below. But without further ado, let's get into some character background and answer the question, who is Kate Marsh? Kate Marsh was born on September 12, 1995 in Arcadia Bay, Oregon. This makes her a Virgo. While we don't know the name of Kate's mom, we do know the name of her father, Richard. Kate was raised in a very religious family, as you can tell very quickly by interacting with her. She has two younger sisters, one named Lynn and one who remains unnamed. There's been some theories that her other younger sister is named Kelly. However, that really doesn't have much basis. It all comes from this theory that the Lynn that's on a name in one of the binders next to Kate is Kate's sister, and there's another one nearby that says Kelly, and that's basically all the evidence that comes with it. This doesn't make much sense as Lynn is only about 10 years old, and this really doesn't fit with Mark Jefferson's MO. I feel like if it was something so intentional, we would have seen some kind of reveal or would have been directly mentioned. She has a good relationship with both of her sisters. We know this for a couple of reasons. Later on, when Max is trying to talk down Kate off of the roof, you can mention a couple of different family members and some of them net negative reactions. Her sisters are ones that don't. The other thing is she has a photo in her room of them together eating ice cream, and she looks at it fondly. She also has a positive relationship with her father as far as we can tell. He seems to be very, very supportive, and that's something we'll get into a little bit more as we go in the video. Her mother, on the other hand, is not. Her mother is very strict, likely the enforcer of the household. Oftentimes in marriages, people will talk about how there's a good guy and bad guy. There's the fun parent and then there's the strict parent. And it seems like her father is the fun, much more supportive, much more relaxed parent versus her mother. We'll get more into the details of these relationships and why we know these things as we go. And one more thing before we move on from her family relationship, she has an aunt who just is listed as Auntie Marsh. She seems to be far more conservative and strict in the ways of how she deals with religion compared to even her mother. But like I said, we will get into that later. Continuing on, I believe that the family is fairly wealthy. For one, she's attending Blackwell Academy, which without academic scholarships and other things, it's very difficult to maintain attendance if you are on the lower end of things financially. We see this with Chloe's family as they mention these scholarships and that Chloe is at risk of losing them. Another thing that leads me to believe that they are affluent is the fact that Kate lives on campus. We know commuting is an option for students at Blackwell Academy, whether or not they're in the 4-year program or more of the specialized boarding school side of things. So the fact that Kate has her own dorm and lives on campus despite growing up in Arcadia Bay, speaking of her attending Blackwell Academy, it seems like something that was a real point of contention within her family. In a letter from her mother regarding the video of Kate that was being circulated, which is something that we will touch on in a bit, she says, "Our concerns about sending you to Blackwell seem justified." If I had to guess, it seems that Kate grew tired of this very strict, very narrow-minded family dynamic that she had grown up in and wanted to reach out into the world in some extent. And it seems like Blackwell Academy, with its arts program and also being able to live on campus, was a way for her to sort of reach out and almost rebel a little bit without fully cutting off her family or leaving behind her religion or anything like that. I also believe that Kate's father was in favor of her going to Blackwell. While there's no concrete things that say her father supported her and the mother didn't, I think it's safe to say that with the dynamic that's established between them. Kate Marsh would eventually enroll at Blackwell Academy in September of 2013. This means that she went to the school and transferred from a different school. Once again, if I had to guess, probably a religious school of some kind. Blackwell is the kind of school where you can study different disciplines. In some other schools I've seen in real life, there's different AP programs where you can specialize. There's also governor schools. It seems like Blackwell is kind of a mixture of these different ideas. Blackwell's structure for its students is a little odd. This is likely due to a misunderstanding of the developers and how the American school system works and things like that, because in the first game Max mentions that it's only seniors, but then we hear that Chloe used to go there and that Rachel used to go there, and the ages don't line up, so it's a little complicated. It might be a video topic for me to like sit down and sort out, okay, what actually is this school? But the point is, one way or another, Kate enrolls into the school, likely studying art, as she has a photography class with Max. She lives in room 222, which is very close to Max's. She was holding a 3.9 GPA. The other thing I noticed in her file is that it says that she holds one of the best attendance records in the school's history, which, like, of course she would. Outside of school, she works with groups like Meals on Wheels, and this has gained recognition from a local news station in Arcadia Bay. She also hosts what's called a diverse religious studies group, which is very interesting and tells me a lot about who she is. That's something that'll come back later. And this is just a little fun fact that I found, some little trivia. So she hardly swears. She does not swear at all in the game, except in episode 2, when she calls David a paranoid ass. And according to some other stuff, there were other voice lines that had cursing and cuss words in them, but they were cut from the game. So the only time she curses is a very valid time to do that. It seems that Kate has also found herself a solid group of friends just by being herself. Obviously, we know that she is friends with Max. It seems like she was also friends with Stella Hill and Alyssa Anderson. However, if you know my theory about the third accomplice, her being friends with Stella and then Stella also not helping her at all at the party is really suspicious. I know I'm like beating a dead horse with this. One of my friends, they hate that theory. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go check out that video. I think it's really interesting. But as for Alyssa, she does defend Kate throughout the game, and she's shown to be there for Kate after her attempt. Dana Ward is also a friend of Kate. However, it seems that she wasn't there for her at the important times. As Dana says, she blames herself and she feels like she was a bad friend for what ended up happening. Finally, Warren Graham is actually a friend of Kate's, and something interesting is that she calls him a very smart and silly cutie pie. So I think that would, if I had to guess, that means that Kate may have some interest in Warren. And it seems that he's either oblivious or he's so focused on his interest in Max that, it doesn't really click for him. However, once again, Kate being Kate and being great, she supports Max's date with Warren if he were to agree to go to the drive-in with him. All things considered, it seemed like things were going really well for Kate at Blackwell Academy up to this point. However, that would all change on October 4th. On October 4th, Kate would decide to go to a Vortex Club party. There, she was drugged by Nathan Prescott and blacked out. During her blackout period, she threw herself onto people. She was seen making out with multiple people as members of the Vortex Club, like Victoria, laughed and recorded. Seemingly, no one helped her. Then Nathan would step in and try to play the hero. He would claim that, oh, I'm going to take you to a hospital. Everything's going to be okay. However, in reality, he would take her to Mark Jefferson's darkroom bunker where he would take various photos of her in her unconscious, in between conscious state. I don't know what you would call it, but she's still completely blacked out and unaware of what's going on, only with vague flashes. With the darkroom itself having that white interior and all the flashing, she almost kind of believed that she was taken to a hospital, but she was very confused and didn't remember anything. Eventually, Nathan or Jefferson or somebody, maybe the secret third accomplice, took her back to her dorm and dropped her off, and she woke up almost like nothing happened. She said she didn't have any marks, but that she felt gross. She knew deep down she was violated in some way. And that leads me to the video. Victoria would go on to post the video of Kate making out with all these people and doing all these things that she wouldn't normally do because she wasn't in her right mind. This video would spread like wildfire and deeply affect Kate's relationship with her friends, her family, and her overall mental health. In Life is Strange, you can see Victoria Chase write down on the mirror a link to Kate's video, and you, as Max, can choose to erase it. The interesting thing is if you put that link into your browser, it would take you to a website where you could see the title, but the video has since been taken down. Currently, as far as I know, that page is not up anymore, and it will redirect to the Life is Strange website or something along those lines. And then, of course, her family inevitably hears about this, and she receives an email from her mother that you can find in her room. Kate, your father and I just received a rather disturbing call from Principal Wells about you and some party video. Our concerns about sending you to Blackwell seem justified. Please call us after your classes this evening so we can fully discuss this matter. We hope you haven't brought shame on you or our family. We'll pray for you and expect you to pray for forgiveness. Your mother. This kind of highlights the way of thinking for her mother rather than showing concern about, like, I hope you are okay. I hope you are doing okay. It's more about, I hope you didn't ruin yourself. I hope you didn't bring shame to us. She's not worried about her daughter as a person. She's more worried about how she's going to be viewed about it. And earlier I mentioned her aunt, who is seemingly more close-minded than her mother. Well, this is what she said in a card she sent her. Dear Katie, no spirit or devil could have prepared me for what you have done in that videotape. And like a Jezebel, you released your harlot image before God's eyes. I will pray with my church for your soul to be saved from eternal hellfire, Auntie Marsh. It's just terrible, the way that her family reacts, and you can clearly see how the combination of the bullying from other students, people talking about this video, making comments at her about the video, something that she doesn't even remember doing. So it just makes it even worse that she's feeling all this shame from her family, from her friends. But here we see an example of her father trying to be more understanding and trying to be there for his daughter in his own way and in a way that he feels that she will receive. He would send a Bible verse along with a small message for his daughter, not being overwhelming of like, you need to call me right now, and not making it seem like she is in trouble with him, but rather offering his support. He would say, and the light shines in darkness, and the darkness comprehend it not. John chapter 1 verse 5. Katie, you'll always be my brightest light against the dark. Hugs and love, Pop. That really highlights the differences in her family and the differences between her parents and the dynamic that they have. That kind of, in my eyes, explains my reasoning for him being more supportive of her branching out into the world versus her mom not, things like that. However, this obviously still deeply affected Kate. I mean, I just explained previously why. Kate really struggled to cope with all of this. The judgment from her family, the judgment from people she once thought were her friends, her peers, all for something that she does not remember. Kate mentions at the party she only had a little bit of wine, and it seems like she drinks occasionally. Maybe she was just pushing herself for this exact occasion. You can actually find a whole bottle of wine in her room. It seems like this is something she's doing in order to cope with what's going on. The other way that she might be coping with this can be found in Frank's logbook. Frank has all of his clients nicknamed. There's one in particular that catches a lot of people's attention. Chihuahua or Katie. This person's listed as buying something called Green Dream. It seems like something that induces sleep of some kind. While it's never explicitly stated that Kate is buying drugs from Frank, it wouldn't surprise me that with all the stress and all the turmoil that comes with everything going on, that she's willing to try to cope with it in ways that she never would before, through alcohol and through drugs. That leads me to one of the two endings for Kate's story. Eventually things would grow to be too much for her, and she would attempt suicide by throwing herself off of a building on Blackwell's campus. Fortunately, you as Max have an opportunity to save her. This requires you to do and learn certain things throughout the game. Some examples would be learning that her father and her are very close, answering the phone when she calls you when you're out with Chloe, as well as erasing the link to her video on the bathroom mirror. However, if you get these things wrong or don't do certain things, you will lose Kate. If she is able to take her own life, she has a public service on October 12th at 2 p.m., and somewhere between the 12th or 15th, there's a private family service. However, if you're able to save her, she's taken to a hospital. One of the most interesting things about Kate is her relationship with her faith. Most people who grow up in extremely religious households, and when I say strict, I mean the more judgmental and hateful kind of religion that we see sometimes, like her aunt and her mom. Most people who grow up in those environments end up rebelling from it entirely. They become atheists or they convert to a different religion altogether or whatever. But Kate has a deep and genuine connection with her faith, something she truly believes in. And while Kate does struggle, she does question it, in the end, she comes back to it. After all, Kate's favorite Bible quote is, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. I will give you rest." Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. Her exact church is never fully stated, but if I had to guess, I would say Catholicism. This being from the strict nature of her mother and the far more harsh rules and judgment that her mother and her aunt kind of project onto her. Of course, this is more of a stereotype of the Catholic faith, but I'm just saying for the sake of this video. However, in my opinion, it seems that Kate seems to follow a far more Protestant way of thinking. It seems like to her, faith is more about giving back and doing what you're good at in order to serve God and help others. And she's also far more open to other religions. It's mentioned that her religious studies group is very diverse, so it's about an understanding of all faiths. I feel like Kate is the type that truly lives by the love and the compassion that is mentioned in the Bible, rather than the, love the sinner, hate the sin kind of rhetoric that her family would probably spout. Kate truly wants to welcome everybody and love everybody. I mean, this is something that we see her wanting to continue if she survives. She mentions that she's working on a children's book to help children who are dealing with bullying and other issues. And that's such a beautiful thing for her to want to do. Her instinct, after being at this low point in her life, is to want to give back and help others so they don't ever have to feel the same kind of pain that she did. She's very welcoming to the apology cards and the apology posts and letters and things like that from people who were bullying her not even a couple days earlier. For example, Max can mention a postcard that she receives from Victoria, and Max can talk about how insecure Victoria is, things like that. And the discussion continues, and then Kate decides to forgive her, despite everything that she put her through. It's just so fascinating to me, because I feel like oftentimes religion can be used as the boogeyman in certain shows or media. Not that there aren't bad parts of it. There's bad parts of just about anything in the world if you look hard enough. And so I think it's great that they do show the more negative side of religion, but they also have this wonderful character who loses her faith and then finds it again and is so compassionate and kind to others. I just think that Kate is a very well thought out character, and I think the journey that she goes on is very interesting. There has been some speculation on the fate of Kate Marsh. Of course, we know that she can either live or die during her attempt, depending on your actions as Max. However, what we don't know is what happens to her during the storm. If she survives, she's in the hospital in Arcadia Bay when the storm comes through. Does that mean that she dies during the storm, even if she's saved? Well, the developer has mentioned this before, the original creator of the game, and he said while he didn't really think about it all that much, he believes that Kate would have survived. This is likely, as I believe a lot of hospitals do have storm shelters or places to place patients during an intense event like a storm, like a hurricane. And while this storm is extremely destructive, far more destructive than what you would consider your average storm, I think it's still likely that these things could have led to them surviving. After all, we've had so many people be revealed to survive what happened. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Kate Marsh and who she is, her background, her story. I think she's a very interesting character. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. I do character deep dives and lore videos on Life is Strange, as well as other video games as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I hope you have a good morning or evening or, whatever.